All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the first edition of my virtual book club. I'm glad that you decided to share with us today. I'm so excited about this book club. This is something new for me and maybe something new for you, but this gives you a chance to meet the author before you might have actually read the book. So, as we begin today, I want you to make sure you share this even right now. Make sure you share with everybody you know that's a reader. If they can't read, if they're illiterate, help them read these books as we meet these authors. And I promise you, every author that we have that's going to be coming through is going to be a blessing. So today, for this inaugural edition, this first edition, we had to bring somebody all the way from her house. The world-renowned author and playwright Tiffany LaMeia is in the building, and she's going to share with us all that she has going on today, and I want you to be a part of it. So remember, share this even right now. Don't let anybody miss it, and watch what God is going to do on today. All right. So with that being said, help me welcome Tiffany LaMeia. Good to see
That's
you. How are you?
correct. Good to see you too. I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am good. I'm good. Now, listen, this is the first one, so that means however you started off will determine whether people watch me for the rest of these weeks. So
Ooh, no
no pressure,
pressure.
no pressure at all. But no, start off by telling us just a little bit about yourself.
I am a native of Decatur, Alabama,
Okay.
North Alabama. Born and raised. I am currently a single mother
Okay.
to a beautiful daughter named Destiny. I do a whole lot of things, but in my purpose, my alignment with God is ministering, life coaching, helping other people discover their self-worth. I'm just down to earth country girl, love to cook and love to eat and just relax and chill. And I mean, most importantly, make sure that God gets the glory out of my life. But I'm a PK, preacher's kid.
Wow. Cool.
So grew up in the church and all of that. And I am on a 5-year journey of really embracing who God has called me to be.
All right. What was it like growing up as a PK?
Oh Lord, I talk about it in one of my books. We was at church all the
Right.
time. Bible study, first service, second service, third
Right.
service, choir practice, and church meetings on Saturdays. But I actually embraced it. I enjoyed it. Most of my relationships that I established in life and still have came from individuals within the body of Christ. And so for me, it was a blessing. It was my foundation, and it gave me something solid to stand on when times began to get chaotic in life. My parents, we had prayer every morning
Mm.
before we left the house. We all prayed together. We had a family night on Thursday nights. We had family prayer night on Friday nights. On Monday nights, we had family Bible study. So we was always getting the word
Right. Right. Right.
and everything. So, it was cool. We went through things.
Hmm.
As a PK, you kind of know the backstories of stuff that's going on in the church, the drama and all that kind of stuff. So having to navigate through all of that and still maintain sanity
Hmm.
and emotional balance. I think a lot of people don't realize what preachers' kids go through a
Right.
lot, or, even preachers' wives for that matter, or the pastor himself. Everybody just expects them to be, and they don't understand that they're dealing with life while they're trying to help other people deal with life too. So,
Right.
but it was a golden experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Good. 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 So growing up as a PK, uh, was there ever a time where you were anti dealing with people? Right? You were like, when I grow up, I'm not going to deal with church people. I'm not going to deal with people. And then, look at you now, uh, in the trenches,
It
right?
didn't. It kind of happened for me later because
Okay.
I was married to a preacher, so
Um,
youth pastors.
okay.
And I think my place of getting to that point came during that span of life.
Gotcha.
I was like, I don't want to minister to nobody else.
Right.
I'm tired of folks.
Right.
Heal. I need to, and so it probably came during that span of time. But prior to that, no, I've always had a heart and compassion and drive for people. I just had to get back to that place where I could really minister without any kind of hostility or resentment or over my shoulder, that sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Now, so how did you get into being an author? How did that come about?
I would like to say that I had this grand vision or idea that I was going to do this, but honestly, it was within the first couple of years of my life that the first book that we'll talk about, God dropped it into my spirit. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I didn't really understand the totality of what it was going to birth out of me. So I had no intentions of writing multiple books at all, even when I released the first one. I was, I'll do this and maybe a few other things, but it's just that now the books are just pouring out of me. I've started on probably 3 or 4 that I haven't even finished, but it just keeps coming. So I'm just realizing this is the lane or the vein that God has me operating in right now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your first book. The first book is called The Other Woman.
Other Woman.
All right. So
The Other Woman is literally a portion of my life, me sharing a portion of my testimony with the world, transparency, just to be able to birth healing, so much wisdom that God gave me going through it. A lot of times we deal with things and we don't actually find out what God intended for us to learn when we dealt with it. And so this is me sharing what I learned through my process. A lot, people locally, when it first came out, because it actually came out about 9 months after my divorce was final. So a lot of people was like, oh.
You about to get the tea today.
They was like, let me get this copy. Either they had the idea that this was a something juicy they want to read, or they had the concept of, oh, she's bitter and she's angry and she's trying to fall now. And The Other Woman is really a play on words. But like I said, I got married in 2003. Got downloaded. I started writing this in 2004, and actually came across journals as I was actually writing it in 2014 of pieces that I actually was able to put in here, because it was something that God just kind of gave me. But when He gave it to me, I was married at that time. Didn't think I was going to be divorced. It definitely wasn't this is a tell-all type book. But what I will say is that as me and my ex-husband were nearing the end of our marriage, we kind of knew. He actually said, it's time for you to write the book and release it. He said it's going to help a lot of people. And so God had already told me that too. It was just confirmation. And so the book, you can probably feel everything that I was experiencing as I was typing it, because when I was writing it, I was going through a healing phase, and we're actually pouring on the keyboard as I'm typing. So you can actually feel the emotion of it, but I didn't write it in a bitter place. That's the difference. A lot of times when we want to share stories of things we went through, our motive behind it is not pure. And so God literally would shut me down and be like, you can't write right now. You're going through on an emotional roller coaster and having all this anger, because it's not going to minister to anybody if it's done with the spirit of excellence and through the Holy Spirit. And so I released it, and like I said, the other woman is actually a play on words, and I won't tell what's in the book, but I will say that adversity has the ability to birth who God really intended for us to be.
Okay. Okay.
And so you'll see, like, that's me in a dark place as this preacher wife, this, you know, and then this is me after I came out.
Mm-hmm.
And so really and truly the other woman was God trying to pull out of me who I was destined to be. And it took everything that I went through for me to become her.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, that's, I've had a lot of people read it, men and women alike. And the greatest, for me, the greatest testimonies have come from men who have said, it made me want to be a better husband.
Wow. Wow.
You know, or men that had taken their wives through it and were divorced and were going back to them saying, I'm sorry, I didn't realize what I did to you. Or, you know, so for me, those are the testimonies that have really, really, really hit home with me. Of course, women are going to be moved, especially that may have experienced some of the things that I experienced. But when you can touch men, when a woman can touch a man's heart,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to change from it, to me, it's like, okay, God, I'm on the right path.
Right.
So, you know, that's the other woman. And then go ahead.
Yeah. With that, how important do you think it is for anyone who's going through hurt to heal before you try to help somebody else? Because a lot of times we try to go from hurt to help.
It's vital. You can't, you know, well, and I will say this, there are times when God will have you ministering even through your brokenness,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a difference. When you're operating in bitterness and resentfulness,
Mm-hmm.
God ain't hearing us.
Right.
If I regard iniquity in my heart, God is not going to hear me.
Right.
So I can operate in a certain level of pain and still minister to other people, because sometimes my healing comes through that,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what I say it, because sometimes His strength is perfected in our weakness. So there were moments where, you know, as a praise and worship leader at my church, there were moments where I had to get up and lead worship, and I was hurting. I wasn't bitter, I was hurting. And literally, in my weakest moments, the power of God would come upon me, and everybody else would be able to get what they need in the presence of God.
Right.
And then I would go sit down, and the Spirit would lift off of me, and then people would have to come minister to me. So I think you have to also know what stage you're in, and be tuned when God say, hush, hush.
Absolutely.
You know, yeah, I think that's the most important thing. Healing is imperative. You know, it's just like a doctor. You know, there are certain times your doctor can be sick and can still treat you and, you know, give you prescriptions and all of that. But there are times where he's to the point where he can't do anything himself either.
Right.
He can't help you. So you just got to know where you are in life. I'm very in tune with my emotions and spiritually, so that I know when it's time for me to just be like, y'all, I got to take a break.
Mm-hmm. So I think Lawrence Richardson had a book that was called Leading While Bleeding, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it talks about how sometimes we got to, you know, we still have a calling on us, you know, you still have, you know, people that you are responsible for, but it's important that you get the help you need as well, right? So like during your time of transition, who were you besides God? Did you have anyone that you could talk to, or was it kind of a lonely island, so to speak?
First of all, I had a counselor.
Okay, good.
We don't always
talk about
like
counseling.
To have those in the body of Christ,
right?
But counselors can help.
Right, absolutely.
I'm talking about professional ones.
Right, not your cousin.
With my parents being my pastors, you know, of course, my mom nurtured me through what I was going through, but they don't always know how to distinguish between being parents and
Right.
being pastors.
Right.
And she's always like, I'm your mama first.
Right. Right.
So she loved me through it, but I think that's another beauty of being a PK. So many leaders from the area,
Mm-hmm.
reached out to me and spoke life into me. And I can remember one service, probably the last time I had a major breakdown. It was probably about 4 months after the divorce was final. I was at a church service. We were celebrating their pastor's anniversary, and the spirit was high. The man of God had preached, and this woman of God who was being honored came down from the pulpit, put me in her lap, and rocked me.
Wow.
Said scream. And I was able to really release every bit of what was weighing me down. And from that moment on, it was like something shifted in me.
Wow.
So, I'm one of those people that I don't pretend that I'm okay if I'm not okay. Mm-hmm. And so it's easier to get help when you're willing to acknowledge that I'm hurting, So it was that. And of course I have the most amazing support group. So my brothers and my girlfriends and everybody, I can't say that, there were the nights that I was alone, I would cry when my baby was asleep, or I would wake up in the morning and cry, but I didn't stop going to work. I never took a day off. I just, I knew that it was going to get better.
Okay. Good. All right. So you completed the book and you released it in 2015?
Yep. March of 2015, the book was released.
Okay. And then what happens next is?
So after that, as I'm writing the book, God says to me, stage play. And I'm like, say, huh?
Right.
But he said stage play. I always knew that my life was a movie. And when you read the book, you'll see what I mean. Most people are like, you got to be kidding. That stuff couldn't have happened to anybody. And even the people that went through that phase of my life with me, it was like, if I didn't know you and had not gone through it with you, I would think this is a great story.
Right.
But, so I was thinking a movie would come a few years later, but God said stage play. So no experience, never done a production, didn't know anything staging and about, stage left, stage right, none of that kind of stuff. And God says, write the play. And he literally told me, I'm not going to do what you're expecting me to do in your life until you obey me. So I was like, okay. So I get to writing, and it took me, honestly, probably less than a month to write it, even though I wrote it out over a course of probably 9 months or so. And it was amazing because God had given me a deadline. And so one particular day, I probably spent about 8 hours until I finished nonstop just writing. And I posted it on social media. And when I did, my inbox began to blow up.
Wow.
Individuals that had acting experience in stage plays, individuals who were coaches, or like everything that I needed. Right. God already had it. I was just like, this has to be a move of God. I was blown away. Even somebody building my set.
Wow.
So, I knew it was God, and it came together so effortlessly. We did not really experience any attacks on the stage play until probably 2 months before releasing.
Right before release, yeah.
And the first attack was really somebody took one of our pictures and created a nightclub flyer with it. And my inbox started blowing up because I don't really have a whole lot of people that club on my timeline.
Right.
But people started sending it to me, and here I am on the cover of a nightclub.
You are the after party.
Right, exactly. And so at that point I was like, yes, you know, my people were infuriated. I was like, y'all don't say nothing, because they were ready to like get at it, my cast and stuff. And I was like, Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high.
Right.
So, you know, so we didn't respond to it. And I literally didn't have to fight the battle, because so many people in this area was calling, making connections, finding out who the club owner was, to the point that when I woke up the next morning, it had already been solved.
Okay.
Like the first attack we had, and the second attack came like the night before release.
Absolutely.
So, you know, you're on track when you have those little things.
Right.
I always project that the enemy is going to try to attack.
Right.
And I try to make sure I'm not caught off guard when he do.
Right.
When I tell you the way God opened the doors, and the theater that we had the show at, the people, the staff were just amazed and blown away. They were like, we have never had this theater packed like this.
Right.
It was all, it literally was God, even down to the budget. Like, it was a $12,000 budget. And I'm like, God.
Right. Come on, God.
We sure about this? And when I tell you, the ticket sales was down to the penny.
Wow.
Every single need was met.
Wow.
And the show was phenomenal. Like,
yeah.
I couldn't have asked. And I just give God glory, because here I am, this, you know, newbie in production, and this just happened. So, you know, it was all God, literally. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, we showed it on my on my page yesterday, and it was great, especially for this to be your first one. It was really good, and I think that that those who haven't seen it, make sure, if you haven't seen the play, The Other Woman, it's on my page. So after you watch this, go back and watch the play. Right. So you got the play under your belt. You're a playwright. You are an author. Right. So now life is good. Right. You things are settling in your life now. Right. Or.
Right.
Okay. So what happens after the play?
After the play, we do the soundtrack and all of that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And let me see, talk show. I have a talk show.
Okay.
And after that, God says, another book.
Wow. Okay.
The Love Triangle.
Okay.
So, of course, when you hear Love Triangle, you immediately think about an affair, intertwinement of relationship.
Entanglement.
An entanglement. That's the word we're using in 2020. An entanglement.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what you immediately begin to think about when you hear Love Triangle. But I mean, God has literally just given me this kind of play on words. So everything that I do will probably have some kind of catchy title to it.
Right.
But it's literally talking about God's love, how he loves us, how we love ourselves, and then how we should love others. And Matthew chapter 27, the disciples were talking to Jesus, and they was like, so tell us which is the most important of the commandments.
Right.
You know,
Right.
And you know, you love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, your body. And then he says, and then you love your neighbor as yourself. That right there, that particular portion of that chapter is what really allowed me to understand that I am enough. It allowed me to understand that it's okay to love yourself.
Yes.
So many times we're always taught you put everybody else before you.
Yeah.
I saw that as that's a simile.
Yeah.
That means that I've got to master loving me in order to really love my child right, to love my neighbor right. If I don't know how to love me, if I'm looking at myself in the mirror and being like, "Ooh, what's wrong with you?" or if I'm hard on myself, then I'm gonna project that on other people, because I'm gonna reflect my inadequacies on other individuals. So I had to learn how to love me.
Right.
Not in a kind of vain kind of way, like, oh, you perfect, because none of us are perfect.
Right.
But in a way that I give myself permission to be human, so that I can myself permission to get delivered.
Yeah.
And so the love triangle is really embracing God's love for us. He loved us in our mess.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
and I believe grace comes when we extend to others the type of grace we want to receive. A lot of times it's so easy to talk about unconditional love. It's easy to talk about, you know, how you want others to forgive you.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be willing to give that to other people as well. So when I'm willing to put myself in somebody else's shoes for a moment,
Mm-hmm.
then I don't look at them the same way. I don't look at them judgmentally. I don't look at them with and I thinking I'm better than them. I'm like, let me treat them the way I would want somebody to really treat me. You know,
Yeah.
that golden rule, do unto others, that we learned in elementary school is really just reworded as love your neighbor as yourself. And when we master that, then we don't have to worry about people killing each other and stealing and everything else comes in alignment when we learn how to really love. Right. So, you know, that's what the love triangle is about. Actually, that picture that you see right there, it's a triangle. Mm-hmm. So I started off with 20 women. Mm-hmm. We were in a triangle, and it was nothing. It was Black women and business owners of all types. Actually, it's the cover of the book. And it was trying to break down that barrier that we sometimes have in our community, that if you get ahead, you know, you're going to get there before me. So I intentionally did women from all different walks of life, different businesses, some married, some single, all of that. And I brought us all together to show that there's more power in unity. And this past year, 2019, we decided that we would bring our men into the triangle.
Wow, cool.
Because we are only solid as a community when we have men next to us. So actually, one of them has us, the men are holding us up because they're our foundation. You guys are our foundation. Cool. So we have one picture of us being elevated. So, you know, that's the love triangle. It's about loving God, loving yourself, and then loving other people.
Yeah. Now, in the climate we're in right now, you know, especially with, you know, racial tension and, you know, all the things that we have going on both sides, I think it's important what you said is when you love your neighbor as yourself, the way I treat you is a reflection of how I really feel about myself. Do you think maybe some of the racial tension is a reflection maybe of how you see yourself as opposed to, right? As opposed to being secure in who I am, therefore I'm not intimidated by who you are.
Bingo.
Yeah, you know.
I absolutely think that some of the most insecure individuals spend their time trying to make other people feel bad and worthless.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So we are a beautiful people, and we are a very strong and powerful people.
Right.
And so, you know, I can understand. I won't say I understand it. I can get it. But I think that when we actually stop trying to operate in a position of supremacy or superiority,
right,
we don't have to be worried about a position being lost.
Yeah, you're secure, right.
Hey, can't nobody beat me being me.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, we are who we are. They're who they are.
Yeah.
And if we can all begin to embrace who we are, then we can also embrace everybody's unique.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. So, you know, I totally think that a lot of stems from the lack of self-love. Yeah. For sure.
So with the self-love, was the I am enough movement birthed out of the love triangle, out of all the triumphs that you've gone through?
I am enough actually was released before the first book, before The Other Woman. During my healing process, I was actually getting ready for work one morning. Me and I'd always talk in my bathroom. That's like the right areas where we commune. And I was in the mirror and God began to talk to me and he said, "You're beautiful." And, you know, I had gone through so much rejection and failing to love myself that I didn't feel like there was much beauty on the outside of me. Wow. And so, and God told me, he's like, "You're beautiful." And I was like, okay. And he said to me, "You failing to love yourself says what I did on the cross wasn't enough, or what I did when I created you wasn't enough. Mm. You failing to love you is saying that I messed up." Mm. And I was like, and I had to go into a place of repentance because everything that God made was good. And so that's when he whispered those words. And me and God, I'm like his baby girl. Yeah. But he said to me, "Mia," which is what most of my family calls me, Mia, which means mine. "Mia, you are enough." Wow. And that was in September of 2015 when he spoke those words to me.
Wow. Okay.
I had to speak at a women's engagement in February of 2015. February of 2016, I had to speak at a women's engagement called Know Your Worth. Okay. And I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm going to get some I Am Enough shirts so that I can help people know their worth. And I literally only got like 30 of them because I was thinking, you know, it's just a small intimate setting. And I sold out that night. And I posted it on social media and I had 100 orders in one night. Wow. And I realized at that point, the I Am Enough movement wasn't just for me. There were so many other people who were dealing with insecurities and not knowing who they were and struggling with low self-esteem, that this is something. And literally anytime, the last 5 years, anytime somebody sees something that says I am enough, I'm tagged, I'm getting inboxed, because that's really my movement. Yeah. God just, and from that, it keeps evolving. At first, it was about me understanding and appreciating who I am. And then I did my play. The second time, the tickets hadn't sold like I thought it was going to do, but God said, do it. And so I Am Enough became, you can do anything that you put. So it stopped being something internally and started being externally. Right. And at that point, I Am Enough is put it before me. Right. God, we got this. We can do it. Right. So it's been a shift for me. And I think that everybody that reads the message might be at a different place in their life. And so those words might mean something different to them than it for me, but I think it's something that we can all embrace. Yeah. And so I just recently released t-shirts that say enough is enough. Okay. And it deals with the movement, the civil unrest that we've recently dealt with. Because enough is enough. Like, it's what it is. Yeah.
Right. Right. So I was telling someone the other day, I think what this pandemic has taught us is if you come out of this the same way you went in, something wrong with us, right? I think all of us can attest, we picked up new skills, new mindsets, a new podcast, you know, all these things are being birthed in the midst of what would seemingly be, you know, a time of chaos and confusion. Right. And it's like God is showing us how he can birth some things if we just sit down long enough, right?
Sit still.
Yeah, just sit down long enough. Sit down, y'all. Sit down long enough and allow him to work some things out of you. You'd be surprised at how much stuff you have in you, right? So what do you have that's being birthed out of you now that you got 4 books and 5 plays under your belt? What's next?
I started writing just yesterday. I started writing my next book that I will release. Who told you that?
Wow.
So I'm very excited about that one.
Good.
God, uh, banning everything that the enemy has spoken to us that was not in alignment with what God said.
Right, right, right.
So I'm not going to tell y'all any more about that one.
Hey, that's breaking news right here. You heard it first
Right.
here. Who told you that it's coming out at some point? But you heard it here first.
Yes, and my t-shirt line has expanded. I'm different and I know it.
Okay.
Embrace it. We're all different, but everybody don't know that they are. They don't know that it's okay to be different.
Right.
So, and I just actually got approved, and I haven't released this anywhere either. I just approved to have my own shoe line.
Wow.
So 2020, the end of the year, I'll be actually releasing my first official pair of shoes out of London. So I'm
You are international now. That is, you are international. You got to put that on the end of your name now. Tiffany LaMeia International.
International.
You got to add that to everything you do. I'm international. So I'm enough and I'm international at the same time.
Nah.
That's one.
I'm just me.
I'm just me, right? So there may be somebody watching who may be going through a time where they feel like they're not enough. There may be somebody who is watching who's going through a time of self-doubt, feeling like, whatever's going on right now, they may have lost their job, lost, their marriage, anything like that. What can you say to that person who's watching that needs a word of encouragement even now? You said that when God made everything he made, he encouraged himself and said it's good. How do you encourage somebody to, in these times, encourage yourself?
I would just say, don't give up. Storms can only last a certain amount of time. They have to dissipate. They will weaken. And there's something that's beautiful that's birthed out of our place of pain. And so if you can just grab hold to any amount of hope that you can, find out your why, get you a word and meditate on that word, focus on something that's still good. You know what I'm saying? Like the fact that you have life in your body is a blessing within itself. You are here for a reason, you're different on purpose. And you allow the purpose to override the pain, you're gonna see something greater that's gonna happen. It's gonna get better. I promise you. When you're in the middle of a storm, you don't understand it, but chaos can birth some things. I'm telling you, just like, you just said, when it comes to the pandemic, who known purpose could be birthed out of pandemics?
Right.
When even in the civil unrest, who would have known that Black businesses, my God, would be expanding? God has the ability to use what you're going through to birth something so much greater out of you. There has never been life to enter the world that didn't come through pain.
Yeah.
It's just natural. Think about, when there's childbirth, it is painful. Whether you have a cesarean or whether you deliver it naturally, it's painful. But as soon as you hold your baby, you forget about that pain. So if you can just get to the place where you can see your baby, write that vision, make it plain, when the people of God was in turmoil and the man of God went to God and was like, all this stuff is happening to our people. What do? God told him, write the vision.
Right.
And so if you can't focus on anything else, focus on your future, because what you're in, it can't last too long, whether it's heartbreak, whether it's sickness, whatever it is. The purpose and the plan on your life is so much greater. And I will tell you this, what you're going through is not about you. It's about you being able to help somebody else through it.
Yeah.
If I had known what I know now, people ask me all the time, would you go back and change it? No, not one.
Not one bit.
it. If I had to do it all again, I would do it with tears streaming down my face. I would still do it, because where I am now, I would not trade it for the world. So just hold on, be encouraged. You're valuable. You're worthy. God loves you. You know, I love you. You know, and just don't give up. If you feel like you're at that place where you're going to give up, reach out to me, reach out to somebody.
Right.
Just, you know that you're not alone, even when you feel like you are.
Good, good. Now, there also may be some future authors that are watching. I myself am working on finishing my book at some point. What keys would you give those who are aspiring to be an author, those who are working on a book, that might have hit a rough spot? What advice would you give to those of us who are on the other side, where you're a pro now, we're just in the beginning stage? What advice would you give?
Be patient with yourself. Be patient. It's okay if you don't make your deadline that you thought you were going to make. It's okay. Just know that it's going to be birthed in time. And, a lot of authors like to give a step-by-step advice of how you should get there. You might not get there like I got there.
Yeah.
It's okay. The goal is to get there. So just don't give up on your baby. If you're being spirit-led, if what you're doing is a place of ministry, if your book is going to be used to help, then you can't write it in yourself anyway. You have to wait for the Spirit of God to come upon you to give you the words to write so that it can do what it's purposed to do. And so just, stay on task. The Spirit will nudge you. Like, he'll get you up at 2 a.m. and be like, get up. And when you sleep and you're trying to go back to sleep, and it's because the Spirit of God is ready for you to get into it. Just follow it. You don't have any idea who's going to be helped through your book, whether it's fictional, non-fictional, self-help, whatever it is. Just take the leap. Don't be afraid. You would be surprised who's going to read it. And don't wait. Don't think you have to have other people supporting you before you can do it. A lot of us are like, I don't have a support system. I can tell you this, the people who are supposed to read it is going to get to their hands. So many copies of my books have gone to other states, London, wherever. And these are people that I did not know until I said yes. So your yes is going to bring everybody that's going to pick it up and buy a copy. You just have no idea. So just do it. Like just Nike said,
right. Good. Listen, this has been great. I am excited about all that you have done and all that you're going to do. Now, tell the people how they can get your product and how they can keep up with all things Tiffany LaMeia.
Everything about me is Tiffany LaMeia, TiffanyLaMeia. So TiffanyLaMeia.com is my website. You can follow me on Facebook. My Facebook business page is Tiffany LaMeia. My other one is Tiffany LaMeia Show. And then on Instagram, it's Tiffany LaMeia and Tiffany LaMeia Show again. So you can follow me. The store is up and running on my website. We also do special orders if it's something that you've seen somebody else with and you want it and you don't see it. So, just reach out to me. I'm a pretty cool chick,
Right. Yeah. So thank God for all of you. Remember, I want you to know that we love you and there's nothing you can do about it. God bless you and God keep you is our prayer.
Thank you.